want to tell our Chesapeake City Police Department, thank you so much for all that you do on a daily basis. Probably don't get thanks enough, but thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Great. And I'll turn it over to you, Janine, if you don't mind introducing our speakers here tonight, and then I'll stop sharing so they can start. Is that okay?
Sure. Thank you so much. So I'm Janine Marshall, and I am the Jolliffe PTA Programs, VP of Programs. When we initially started talking this year, obviously our programs inside of the school look a lot different. So we kind of had to reach out to our community resources. And since I currently serve for the City of Chesapeake Police Advisory Board, I reached out to Chief Wright to ask him, hey, Chief, can you help me out? Can we collab? And so he was generous enough to forward me over to Officer Everett. So thank you. This is nice to meet you in this forum. Hope to see you in person. But he was generous enough to forward me over to Officer Everett's way. And then we kind of just went back and forth on email talking about the program that we could do. We're actually going to be not just doing this program for the middle school and older children, but we look to do a program for the younger children at Chittum Elementary next month. So these two programs are going to kind of give us some insight, internet safety as well as personal safety. And we also have Detective Furbish here, who is going to be running the slides for tonight. So take it away.
All right, I will take it away. All right, so I'm Detective Furbish. I've been with the department for 10 years. I've been here in the Internet Crimes Against Children unit for about 2 months. My main job is like cyber tips, because every online entity, be it Facebook, Twitter, all of those things, they're federally mandated to monitor their service for any sort of illegal activity that involves like crimes against children. So if someone were to, and they basically do that by like either randomly checking, or they have like search terms, hot words, which ties. So if there's a chat that they believe is explicit, they'll take a look at that user, and then they'll make a report to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which eventually gets forwarded to the local jurisdictions. If it's a photo that gets uploaded, there are ways, it's called a hash match, that it's sort of like digital DNA. It doesn't change. So if it's like a known photograph of something that's exploitative of children, they'll say, hey, someone uploaded this known photograph on our web service, and it's kind of my job to see if I can figure out who did it by like tracking the IP address, and if I can tie it to a person, then I go to the house and then find the device, and then I try to tie that into the person that put it up there. But another part of what we do is we try to educate kids, because sometimes, when I start doing that backtracking, it comes back to a child, and we're not in the business of punishing kids. We're trying to help kids. So some of what we do is, hey, I know what you guys did. This is how I know. This is what you need to do in the future, which is more what this presentation is geared towards. And also NetSmarts. It's actually netsmarts.org with a Z. It's a very good resource. I recommend everyone jot it down and take a look at it in your off time. It has like presentations and resources geared for like elementary, middle, and then high schoolers, and also a lot of resources for parents as well. And that's where this presentation came from. So let's get started. So why is internet safety important? You guys probably already know that, like, kids are getting older. There's new apps and stuff coming out on the internet. Kids are curious. And, it's a lot different than when I was growing up, because they taught, don't talk to strangers. Now it's like more so don't talk to strangers on the internet. And, the anonymity is so huge, and also it feels very private because they're just in front of the computer by themselves, and they're not realizing that if they put something out there, and also that it never goes away, and also the person on the other end of the screen might say that they're a boy, a girl, their age, but they could be a 45-year-old guy, in his basement, is what the stereotype is. And it's just very easy, and a lot of these people are very they do it so much, they're very skilled at what to say. They know the lingo to trick people into doing things. Um, what do kids do online? They go on Facebook, YouTube, they play video games, they talk about playing video games, they go on YouTube and watch people playing video games as they're talking about video games. Minecraft, Skype. I mean, I can't imagine a kid nowadays that isn't doing at least, some part, if not the majority of their free time spending it online. Um, One important thing to note is a lot of, especially since we're talking about middle schoolers, is a lot of websites like Twitter, Instagram, they even say that when you create an account, you have to be 13 or above. So it's actually against the terms of service to have anyone under the age of 13, although there certainly are kids who just lie about their age and have a profile on there. And these are like because these are the sites that children are using. These are also, what the predators are on, because they go where the kids are. Now the kids are online, so that's where they're flocking to. So the big things about kids online is there could be like cyberbullying, sending mean messages. It can take off, it can spiral out of control. Another thing that kids are doing is posting inappropriate pictures. Some of them, might be nude photos, which, is a felony. Even if a child takes a photo of themselves, and even if they just upload it to like their private folder on like Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, because even Snapchat has like oh, I like the cat. Because Snapchat actually has built in, or sorry, Instagram has built into it something that's called My Eyes Only, which has a separate password from the normal login there. But even if a child takes a photo of themselves and uploads it and saves it on their profile, that's something that can get reported to me, like, hey, we found this photo. This is clearly a child that's underage. And then, through my backtracking, I find out it comes back, to a house and then to a kid at that house. And also talking to people that you don't know. I mean, just like, it used to be, people, strangers on the street used to be the big thing, like, hey, where do you live? Let me get some information from you. Call on the phone. Hey, I'm your bank. Can you get your mom's credit card out of her purse and tell me the number? I need to verify something. Now people are doing that just online. Like, hey, how's it going? Oh, cool. Hey, there's a game I can get you, but I need your mom's credit card in order to get it for you. Can you give me that number? Oh, sure, I can get it. And also just visiting adult sites, because the kids are being exposed to things that, that they're adult sites for a reason, in that, it's not appropriate for children. And with all these things, like if when the kids start like, doing it or looking into it, it can be like a downward slope. And also the inappropriate content, adult activities, or even just violence. I mean, there are videos up there that, show some pretty graphic stuff, uh, around the world that is not appropriate for kids. Also hate speech. They might see a video or post something and think it's funny and not realize the severity of it or how someone else is going to take it. And if they post that on like their Facebook feed or something like that, that might make them a target for someone that takes offense to that. And also just risky or illegal behaviors. Hey, download this free software. Oh, okay. Not realizing that it's full of spyware or virus. And now they've downloaded all the photos or payment information on the computer. Um, and, kids are doing it because they think it's like cool. Like, hey, I'm learning about adult stuff. So now, I mean, I'm running into, when I was 12, I was obsessed with getting like good Pokemon cards. And, in the past few years, I'm running into 12-year-olds who are like, man, I really want to date this girl. And I had one kid, 12 years old, really wanted to date this girl. And she was dating another boy. So then he told her like, well, what if I kill myself? Would you care? And, this was when I was in patrol. So I immediately went over to that kid's house and talked to the parents who were not aware. And I spoke with the kid who, honestly, he looked like a little version of, nerdy me when I was a kid. And it turned out he wasn't actually suicidal. He just thought, well, if I say that, then I can essentially guilt her into dating me and leaving this other kid. And I made it very clear. And the poor girl thought she had driven the kid to suicide, but really it was a form of cyberbullying that he was doing to try to force her into some relationship. So I made it very clear to him, this is why you cannot do that. And I also made it very clear to the girl, like, you did nothing wrong, and you didn't drive this kid to do anything. He was trying to manipulate you. Um, but and I wish I could say that's the only time I ever ran into that. I've only run into that twice. So it's not super common, but it's definitely not like, fortunately, it's not like incredibly rare either. And sometimes kids will get tricked into like the inappropriate content. Like I definitely recommend to them, like, if someone just sends you a link and says, hey, click on this, don't click on it, especially if you don't know who it came from or what it is, because they might come across some of these things accidentally. And what should the children do when they come across like something like that, like someone saying, like, asking them for photos, soliciting for this, asking them for information? Hey, what's your phone number? Hey, can I get a photo of you? Can I, and usually what they'll try to do is they'll try to do it gradually. Like, hey, do you have any pictures of you when you went to the beach last? Can I see one? Oh, okay. And then they'll just kind of escalate from there. Um, what we recommend the kids do is, I mean, you're at your computer, so you have the benefit of being able to turn off the screen, walk away from the computer, exit out of the app. The impulse is to ignore them, or some kids even engage them, like, why are you asking me for that? And then that just gives the perpetrator more opportunity to try to groom them and bait them into continuing the conversation by, like, saying, like, well, I'm only 13 too. So it's okay if you send me that picture, because we're both 13. If you send me one, I'll send you one. Something like that. So we recommend they stop the conversation, get out of there, and tell an adult. I've actually, since I've been up here, I've had a few cases where a child came across some inappropriate content. One of them, it was photos of another student at a school that had been shared with her, and she knew who the girl was. Immediately she screenshotted to document the screen name of the person that put it up there, and then immediately took her phone to her mom and said, hey, someone's doing something wrong, and then brought it to us. um, which gave us information. It turned out to be in another state, but I was able to forward all the information to that jurisdiction and figure out who the girl in the photos was. So she did a great job immediately reporting it, but so many kids, they come across this stuff and they just kind of ignore it. But you can always report it. There's a website, it's cybertipline.org. It's part of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It's just cybertipline.org, one word. And that's how I get the majority of the work I do. You basically just go on there and you say, hey, I was on Snapchat and I received a photo or a message or an inappropriate conversation where they were soliciting me for something. And here is his username, email, even if he told you his name was Bob, even just a first name, you can put all that on there. And then what happens is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children will send that to the regional offices. Ours is Bedford County, and they will basically start researching that tip. They will send subpoenas to that internet service or the electronic service provider like Twitter, and they'll say, hey, what's the IP address that was used in this account? And then they'll take a look at it, and then usually takes a few weeks or even a month or so to get stuff like that back sometimes. And they'll say, oh, looks like this IP address belongs to this address in Chesapeake. I'll forward it over to Detective Furbish. And then what I'll do from there is research it further and hopefully be able to put it to an actual person. But if people don't report, then we don't have the information to go on. So it's very important that they report it. And if they do have any documentation, like if you hit print screen on your keyboard, it'll it'll take a snapshot of what you have in your desktop. Anything like that can also be uploaded. Um, and you know, and it doesn't. Sometimes people think that, you know, oh well, there's not enough here to make a report. No, I've gotten tips where it's just like, hey, here's the username. He asked me for this, and that's all they have, and it doesn't seem like much, but you know, I can I can usually get at least something out of it. Sometimes I hit dead ends, but not all the time. I mean, I just had a very minor cyber tip the other day, and it led me to a phone with a lot of content or illegal content on there, and it was just from one little random cyber tip that, hey, so and so's got stuff on his phone he shouldn't have. Um, so it's always very helpful, and you can also report it just to the Chesapeake Police Department as well. You can give us a call at 382-6161 and just make a report straight to us if you know that it was something that happened in Chesapeake. And even if you're not sure, like if I get a report of something, I do some research and it turns out to be Arkansas or Arizona, then I can forward that to the cyber tip to the uh, to ICAC of Bedford County, and they can forward it to the appropriate jurisdiction. And some of the inappropriate online behavior, I mean, as you can see in the photo, it's like, you know, so the in-person stuff kids would do, spray painting and throwing toilet paper all over the home. But what some people will do is they'll share like embarrassing things about themselves and other people, revealing pictures, which kind of goes into the cyberbullying. Like, hey, here's a picture of so-and-so, and, you know, like when they were sitting down, they didn't realize their underpants were showing. Let me put it online because it's hilarious. And next thing you know, that photo is just all over the place. All the kids in school have it. Um, Engaging in the hate speech, illegal behaviors, and participating in pranks, hacking someone's account, um, you know, and then putting stuff up there that person didn't want, or making it look like they're doing something bad. And they recommend, you know, and just let the kids know, like, not to participate in any of that because you'll get a bad reputation. You might get punished. I mean, some examples they have here are of two kids in Texas. They put threatening messages about classmates on Facebook, and they got suspended and had to do community service in lieu of being charged. Middle school student charged with serious crimes after they posted a video vandalizing the school bathroom. Because you realize, like, if you talk about an illegal, something that you did that was illegal online, or you record it because you're like, oh, I want to get a lot of likes or hits, that we can backtrack that and find out who did it. And this is a pretty commonly known. Once you post something online, you can't take it back, and you also have no control over. I send a photo to another person. Unless I really, really trust them and they're a really, really good person, that photo might go to who knows how else. And I mean, I have a case right now where a girl was talking to a stranger on Instagram for about an hour. And then he just asked her for a photo. She sent a nude photo and then asked, can I have your password to your and also to Your Eyes Only? So she sent that. And his next response was, well, you have to send me more photos, or else I'm going to send the photo you sent me and all your other content to every your contact list, which he could do at that point because for whatever reason, she gave him the password to her account. Thankfully, she did not do any more photos, but it's like, that's why you don't give out your password. Which I would basically, for the kids, I would tell them, like, your passwords are as important as like the key to your house. Like, you're not going to give the key to your house to anybody else, so do not give them any of your contact information or any of your passwords. And this kind of goes with what I was just saying. You want to keep yourself private. You don't want to put too much information online. And if you reveal too much about who you are, then that can spread, and it might reach people that that they don't want it to go to. Some of the information, passwords, home address, home cell phone number, your location. You don't want to do that because you don't want these people to know too much about you, and then they can also scam you or have your accounts hacked and then they can just let them know that it's only okay to share your password to your accounts with your parents. And I highly recommend that, all the parents have all the passwords to the kids' accounts. And if they say, well, I'm not giving you my password, get rid of that account. Most of the time, there's going to be a portal on these websites where you as a parent can contact like customer service essentially and say, hey, I'm the parent of this person. I need this account like taken down for this reason. And they'll usually comply with it because these websites, they don't want this content on there. They will work with us, but they don't want any of this illegal activity done on their service. So they're usually more than happy to comply and help us out. Sometimes it takes a little time with legal service, but they're usually pretty good about it. And as I said, kids don't share your personal information. Make it clear not to show any videos of their private area. You can use privacy settings and also appropriate screen names, so you don't like offend anyone or become the target of something. And only accept friends that you know in real life. If kids are at school, hey, we have this game online, here's my PlayStation account. That's fine. If you know who the kid is and you trust them. I still wouldn't send any inappropriate pictures just in case. And also jokes that are threats. There's a code in Virginia for threatening or harassing communication, which is a class 1 misdemeanor. So if I just send in a message, hey, I'd like to punch you in the face, or I think we should go break into the school, even just putting that in a message, if it's anything that's obscene or illegal, that's a class 1 misdemeanor right there. And even if they say, well, I was just joking, they can still be charged with it. Let's see here. And also let the kids know they have the right to say no to inappropriate requests. Like, if they're in a chat room or something like that, and someone asks them for something, let them know, like, you have the right to ignore, block that person. Most of these apps have a way to, like, just block a person's screen name. Yeah, and anytime anything like that happens, you can just block them, and you don't have to keep dealing with it. Which is what they have right here. Block or unfriend that person, report the behavior, and talk to someone. Be like, hey, most of the time kids probably don't want to say what happened because they're afraid, like, well, I really like using Discord, but now, if I tell my mom that someone asked me for a photo on there, I didn't do it, but they're going to think like it's just full of all these inappropriate people and now it's going to go away. I would say if the kid immediately comes to you and says, hey, this is a request that this person made, what do we do? And you guys report it. To me, that just says that kid is smart enough and strong enough to continue to ignore any requests like that and to keep coming with you. So it shows that they're being responsible with that service. Older teens and adults, let them know that if you got a 13-year-old and they're chatting with someone who says they're 17 and they start saying like, oh, you're really cute, I would like to date you, where do you live? Let them know that that's not okay. That's not cool, especially if they're asking for revealing photos. They're saying, oh, I wish we could meet in real life. Like, make it very clear to the kids, like, you are a child. This person is either an adult or about to be an adult. You have to take time to be a kid, and this is not okay. Whoever is making these requests, something is not right with that person. And definitely report anything like that to the cyber tip line, because there are charges for the charges that go with child pornography. It's soliciting, possessing, distributing. So even if someone is just asking a child for a photo and that child does not send a photo, I can still get them with the same charge as if they had a photo in their possession. And don't trust anyone who, and this happens sometimes, they will send gifts like, well, how about I buy something from your Amazon wish list? Then will you send me a photo? And they'll do it. They'll spend the money to get the content that they're trying to get. And but as soon as they get, in my experience, as soon as they get like that one photo, they will use that one photo for any of their other requests. You already sent me the one photo. Well, if you don't send it, what's wrong? I'll buy you something else. And if that doesn't work, it's like, okay, well, let me put it to you this way. I'm going to give you an ultimatum. You send me more photos, or I'm giving it to your mom. I'm going to send it to everyone in your school. And then they'll send more photos. And then that just gives them more collateral. The kids are thinking a lot of times that this will placate that person. Well, if I just send them enough stuff, then, if I send them these, 5 more photos, I'll be done with it. And not realizing that they'll never be done with it. And that goes with making them feel guilty and ashamed. For just a couple examples, a 12-year-old girl chatting with an older man on Kik, asked her to send revealing pictures. She sent the pictures, and he was later arrested. But a lot of these guys, once they get the photos, they trade them with other people. So just because we get that person and we find those photos in his device, they're probably already out there, making their way through the dark net. There was also a 14-year-old boy in Maryland. He met with a man that he was chatting online. The man said he was 16, and the 14-year-old boy thought, hey, yeah, you're only 16. Turned out to be a grown man. Thankfully, that man was later arrested. But and this is just an example of the kid's journal. This is example of like the grooming that they would do, like, oh, I sent you a phone so you and I can chat, and your parents don't have to know about it, and this way all the stuff the privacy stuff they put on your phone, you don't have to worry about. Now you and I can chat more freely. And ask them to keep secrets. I mean, it's very similar to the stuff that, when I was a kid, we'd have presentations in school about like, strangers saying, hey, I want to, play a special game that, we have to keep secret. They're just taking that and putting it in an online environment. It's like the predators are doing the same thing. It's just on the computer, and they can reach a lot more kids a lot quicker. And and they can use like the anonymity of the internet to hide behind, at least for a time. So again, what can the kids do? They can block, don't accept, don't meet up with them, and most importantly, tell someone. And once again, report anyone that sends, and even if someone just sends adult pictures, it is illegal for an adult to send a child pornographic videos, links, pictures, anything like that, especially if they ask you to send pictures of yourself, meet in person, if they're talking to you about adult things, that's them trying to groom. And cyberbullying is becoming more of a problem. We don't have a specific code in Virginia that prohibits cyberbullying specifically. It would fall under the if it falls under anything, it would be under the harassing by computer, which is like the obscene, illegal messages. We had a case recently where an autistic child, I don't know how, but I guess the kids at the school were comparing him to a goat, and they created a profile with his name on, I think it was Instagram, with pictures they had taken of him at school and posted up there. We were contacted by the parent. We consulted with the Commonwealth attorney, but because they didn't put anything that was threatening up there, or exploitative or anything like that, because we don't have a specific cyberbullying code in Virginia, unfortunately, it was nothing that was illegal, and it was something that had to be dealt with at the school level. But it doesn't make things any easier for the kid. And what they're doing is it's really just similar to what you would do in person. They're sending messages, spreading rumors online, creating fake profiles, posting fights or posting kids getting beaten up, which just re-victimizes them, photoshopping pictures, and just like trash talking. And they don't realize that it's longer lasting when you're doing stuff like that online than if you're doing it in person, because you can get just a bigger community that jumps on the bandwagon because they want to be part of the fun. And and it sometimes they do it because they are the people that are bullying people online, they are doing it to get back at, they're being bullied in like real life, and online is the only way where they can really like lash out and sort of like take some of the control back by, you know, victimizing somebody else. But we recommend that, you know, if the kids are being cyberbullied, you know, don't respond to them, block them, and create a new account, one that, you know, they're more particular about who they give it out to, and also to make a report. Um, you know, I mean, the schools have been very good, and our school resource officers as well have been very good about like addressing like cyberbullying, like calling the student in, even if we're not necessarily. Sometimes we are able to charge. You know, a lot of times they move more towards deferment, like community service. The kid has to go to counseling, stuff like that. And if he completes all of that, it's in lieu of being charged. Um, but in any event, the big thing that we want to do is stop the cyberbullying. But if the kid doesn't tell us they're being cyberbullied, obviously we don't know, which goes into the whole, you know, tell an adult you can trust. Let the kids know, like, hey, if anyone ever says anything bad about you online, let me know, and then we can see what we can do about it. Sometimes what kids will do is not tell anyone, and they'll try to cyberbully back, which most of the time just kind of fans the flame, and just has whoever started it just comes back like twice as hard. And if and let the kids know if they see someone being cyberbullied online, you know, don't join in. You know, show support in that you're not going to participate in it. I mean, they could even tell the bully to stop, either online or in person, and also report it to an adult. But sometimes they don't want to speak up because they don't want to get bullied next. They don't want to be a tattletale. They don't think the adults can help. Um, but you know, it's not necessarily true, but you know, that's how the kids think. Like, well, at least it's not me, it's just somebody else, so why do I have to get involved? Me, I was always the type where I got involved, and I never really got bullied because I kind of knew exactly what to say to make the bully stop talking, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best thing to do, but it got them to stop talking. And if the kids don't like someone online, it's basically just like the same thing as you would do in person. Like, keep all the critical comments to yourself. Don't forward rumors. Rumors spread like wildfire online. And you don't post anything with the purpose of embarrassing someone. And if you accidentally post something that someone says like, hey, you know, that was a really bad picture of me, man, or that hurt my feelings, take it down. You know, yeah, apologize and be like, hey, I didn't realize that you didn't like that picture, or that you didn't want the kids to know that you played the clarinet or whatever it is, and then take it down. Uh, you know, and stop cyberbullying with kindness, because it's not something that we can ignore. I will say this: it's very rare. We see it in the news where a kid gets cyberbullied and that pushes them to harming themselves. It's actually a very rare thing to happen, but it's something that can happen. It's not as common as people think, but it's definitely something to take into consideration. And if a kid is going through problems of being cyberbullied, talking to someone can help, you know, counseling, or even just with like, you know, talking to the parent about it. And you know, just tips for the kids to remember: be careful about who you talk to online. Think before you post. Don't be a cyberbully, and tell an adult if you need help, because adults can help. Let the kids know that we're here to help them, and you know, show them you can be responsible. One of the speeches I always give to the kids when they get in trouble for anything when I was working patrol was, I would tell them like, okay, you did something wrong, you have lost your integrity, your parents cannot trust you because you snuck out of the house or you stole money from them. So you have two choices. You can either be bitter at your parents for catching you because they're punishing you. You can either be bitter at them because you got punished, or you can do a 360 and do everything you can to be a goody two shoes and go that extra mile, and then start to earn that integrity back. And if you show them that, your parents are going to see that, because too often I find kids who are like, well, I tried to be good and they just didn't care, so I just started being bad again. well, you kind of have to be good for a while before your parent is going to be comfortable with you going out with your friends or doing this and that and the other because you snuck out of the house and hopped in the car with a 22-year-old and you're only 14. Like, it's going to take mom and dad a while before they're going to say, you know what, I trust you enough to go out on your own. And it's kind of hard to get through to the kids, but I can think of a few where it actually worked and a bunch where it didn't. But if you don't try, you don't know. And that's the end of the presentation. Like I said, all of this is on the NetSmarts website. I do have a couple of questions. Okay. So explain more about parents having the right to shut down the account of their child if it's being used inappropriately. So it's different on every, and not every site has it. I don't know the specific portals, but I do know that most of the time, if you go to like the customer service, they'll have like a parental section sometimes. But you could always just like email the customer service directly. Like, I am the parent of the person on this account. You know, I need it shut down. You know, and they will generally comply with it. It's no guarantee or anything like that, but it's something that can work. And also, I wanted to tell you that specifically for phones, if your child has an iPhone, there is an app on there called Screen Time. It is built into the iPhone. What you can do with that is you can set it up so that you can block specific apps, you can block specific websites, and you can also have it notify you anytime that child downloads a new app that you haven't blocked. And once that happens, you get the notification. I recommend going into Google, finding out what that app is, what it does, seeing how safe it is. And if you're like, no, my kid's not having that app, then you can have it removed and blocked. You can control their phone basically from your own phone. Let's see here. Oh, and I agree. Yeah, these accounts are a privilege to have, but they're not a right of the kids. That was in there too. Yeah. Kids be like, oh, no, everyone has this. I must have it too. No, sorry. It's a privilege. Games like Roblox and how are games like Roblox and Fortnite handled when people from all places interact with children and say inappropriate things? Aside from reporting it to the app, what else should be done? Well, I know on those you can block specific screen names. If they, it's a little harder with the apps where, like on Fortnite, it's mostly just kind of like how we're chatting now. Like right now we're recording it. It's recorded on like our account, our devices, but Zoom is not recording it. Fortnite is not recording all of the audio from that people are saying. So you can report to Fortnite, hey, this person made inappropriate content. And if it's text based, they like if they type in the comment, they'll usually save it for like anywhere from 30 to 90 days. So that's something that they could see and flag and even potentially end up sending to us as a cyber tip. But if it's just verbal stuff or video, they're not retaining that because it's so much data that they would be losing so much money if they were recording all of that. So you can report them and say, hey, this is what this person verbally said to us, and this is why I think this account gets banned. And a lot of times, just based on that, they will like flag that account, especially if it's gotten multiple warnings. But and if they do anything that's really explicit, they will generally keep the login data for that account. So if I were to subpoena them, they wouldn't be able to give me a copy of what the person said unless it was like text based. Then I might be able to get a copy, but more often than not, we won't. And but I can get the login data for that person, and I will have the report from you of what that person said, so I can track them down. And your child is essentially a witness to the inappropriate content. And I will tell you this: like apps like Snapchat and Kick, they do not save data. Most of the time when we send them, they will report stuff to us like, hey, there was an inappropriate photo. But by the time we get it and we send them the subpoena, the only information they have on that account is they logged in on this day, they logged off on that day, they logged in on this day, account was deleted on this day, which was the day they sent the photo, and then they sent it to that, and then Snapchat sent it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's all they have. Or they'll, Kik will say, well, this account was talking to this account, and they sent photos back and forth, but I can't tell you what photos they were. Whereas my cyber tip says this person is sending a bunch of nude photos of children. Kik is not saving the photo; they're just recording that that person communicated with another person, and that's how like Snapchat advertises itself. Like, you can send photos and and then they're gone. You can't even screenshot it without the other person knowing that they got screenshotted, and then you can remove it. You can send stuff, it'll disappear and no one will track it, which is why these predators are so drawn to these websites. And don't get me wrong, you can use these for like legitimate purposes. Like Discord, it is supposed to be for people to chat about games, but so many people just exploit it because they know the kids are on there, and they can get this and they just try to bait the kids into giving them all of this illegal content. um, so I'm not saying that all these apps were made to be bad, but they're so many people are using them for nefarious purposes. If it was me and it was my kid, and I don't have any kids, but if I did, I would not let them have Snapchat on there. I would not let them have Kik. I would not let them go on TikTok. And there's a new one out. I highly recommend, if any of your kids have House Party, get rid of it. House Party, I start a chat room. I invite you, or I invite 3 other people in the room. Those 3 other people can invite anyone else that they want. And then anyone else they invite into the room can invite anyone else that they want. And House Party does not save any of that video. So you can have a bunch of kids hanging out, and then through some sort of invite or by posing as another child, they can invite all these nefarious people into the room, and then they can all chat. And and there are third party soft, even for like Snapchat, where it's like, oh, once you send the photo, it can't be saved. Now there are a lot of third party apps that you can download stuff off of Snapchat, Instagram, and stuff. Ones where the main service prevents it, but you can circumvent it. Or some people will just have a second phone and they'll just take pictures of what's on their screen and record it, and then you'll never know. Are there any other questions? Or
someone asked what were some other apps to be wary of, and you started talking about it perfectly.
Yeah, and NetSmarts has, like I said, if you go on the NetSmarts website to the resources section, actually, let me.
I plopped that link in the.
Oh, you did?
In the,
Okay.
In the chat.
Yeah, let me,
for NetSmarts.
because I realize I'm still sharing here. Yeah, so this is the NetSmarts. As you can see, it's part of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Kids. If you go to resources here, you got presentations. So this is where I got this one, middle schoolers. These are ones for parents. These are the advanced ones for the kids. They even have elementary, like kindergarten to grade 2. Those have a lot of like kind of cute like cartoons and stuff, but kids are getting on the computer so young nowadays that they have to be taught, like, if you're on the computer and someone asks you, where do you live, not to tell them. And there's also tip sheets where it's talking about cyberbullying, sexting, why not to do that, think before you send. There are just so many new apps coming out, and sometimes I come across one that I've never even heard of. So if your kid has an app on your phone you're not familiar with, just do some research, you know, and just see like what type of content can be shared. And even if you just Google, like, is this app kid safe? I mean, you'll find so many blogs where people say yes or people say no. And like the horror stories that other people have posted about there, like, well, my kid was using it and this is what happened.
Tech Refurbish, Lulu would like to say something.
Oh, sure. All right. Let me figure out how to do this. Ah,
There we go.
okay.
So I'm not really Lulu. My kid was on the computer today, and I'm not sure how my name got changed. It's actually Amanda, but it's okay. I'm like, really? Okay. No, what I was gonna say was that, so we had an incident last year. My son's a junior this year, and so just so other parents are aware, you were talking about how if someone sends a picture and you then share it, it's a felony. So a girl sent a photo that was a nude photo to a boy. He then shared it with his friends, and then it was airdropped in the school.
Yep.
And because it was airdropped, and then I got a phone call, had to go to the school. And there was Shane sitting in there. And because he then actually showed it, I mean, just showed it to another student, did not share it on his phone, but showed it, it would have been considered a felony.
Well, so
Is what the officer said. Now, the officer did tell me later that it was more like a scare tactic for Shane, and it worked. By God, it worked. But I then learned a whole lot that day that if anything is airdropped, if it is shared in any way, shape, or form, even though the girl, she airdropped it herself, and because everyone else then shared it, I'm like, are you telling me that if 1,000 kids share this picture, you can issue 1,000 felonies? And he said, yes, for everyone that has shared it, it's a felony. I was shocked. So there you go, parents. I mean, I learned something new. And even though she took the photo of herself and she airdropped it and essentially shared it and he said for every time they share it. So if they share it once, it's a felony. If they share it again, it's like another felony. And I was absolutely flabbergasted.
Yeah,
so I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, so on that, intent has a lot to do with it. I mentioned the girl who had been shared nude photos of another girl and immediately reported to her mother. Now she screenshotted it because she wanted to document what happened, which is a felony, but the only reason she did it was to preserve evidence. And because she immediately reported it, I'm not going to, it never even crossed my mind to charge that girl. I basically told her, you did a great thing, because it had been sent to people at this girl's high school, and they live several states over now. The girl had just moved. Not a single student at that high school had reported it. When I contacted the school resource officer over there, he knew who the girl was, but had no knowledge that this had happened. If this girl hadn't reported it, never would have known. And the girl herself didn't even know. So intent has a lot to do with it. So in that type of situation, if you are sent a photo that you did not ask for, like if you just one day open your email up and that photo is there, but you immediately report to us like, hey, someone sent me this photo, this is what happened. This is the person that sent it to me. You guys can come over here and grab it and see what you can do. I'm not charging that person. So if a situation like that, if someone airdrops it, and yes, your son receives it, but so long as he either reports it or gets rid of it off his phone by deleting and emptying his trash, I'm not charging him. But if he gets it and then says, well, let me share it to some other people, yes. And like you said, every time that photo gets shared, it is a felony. It's actually a minimum of 5 years for each photo or video. Doesn't even matter if it's the same photo. If you send the same photo 5 times, that's 25 years minimum. If you're an adult, a little different for kids. If it's a situation where you have, like I've had 2 13-year-olds who sent about 5, boy and a girl, sent about 5 photos apiece to each other. Technically, even having the photo of themselves on their phone is a felony. And sending it to them is also a felony. Now, at this current time, our Commonwealth does not charge juveniles that self-victimize. So if they are, 12-year-olds are consensually sending photos to themselves and we find out about it, we do not charge them. We take the device, we sanitize it by essentially factory resetting it. But if those photos are sent to each other consensually and one of those two kids sends it to other people, we will most definitely charge that kid that sent it out to the third parties. We will also do it if there is a juvenile who keeps repeatedly sending photos of themselves to other people. Like they're the one putting it out there, but if it's apparent that they're either doing it, I mean, I've even run into 13-year-olds selling their nude photos. That's something that we would charge for. Oh yeah, they could set up a PayPal account and say, hey, $50 for my nude photo, and the kid wants money and they are not realizing that, it's happened. And we will charge for something like that. But if it's, you know, and that's why it's important to get through to the kids that I had one girl who said the only reason she sent the photos was because the boy kept asking her. And he sent me photos and he kept asking me for them, and I wanted him to stop asking, so I kept sending them, thinking he would stop. No. And also the reminder, I just saw that Officer Everett put in, yes, you should be randomly checking your kids' phones. Even if you put like the screen time on there, randomly check the kids' phones. I have several reports that we just got from like parents saying I did a random check and this is what I found. And turns out my 15-year-old is having a sexual relationship with a 44-year-old neighbor based on these text messages. And that was just on a random spot check. So any final questions or anything? I know I put a lot of stuff out there and I tend to kind of go all over the place when I start talking about work.
No, I think I'm in shock.
Yeah.
No, this was really good. It was super informative, and I think this was great. I'm glad it was. I'm glad it was able to be recorded. So I'm sure that we can share it again. I think that's what the plan was. I hope. So this was. I think it was great. I learned quite a few. I think the websites are great. Thank you for all that you do. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Well, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. I think Miss Marshall was able to get some. A lot of great information for her daughter over there. I see her nodding her head like, yes.
Yes, I have her sitting right here, and I was grilling her like the entire time. I almost was like, give me your phone. You're never getting it back ever again. I'm going to take it.
Yeah, I meant to say after this, once the parents like educate themselves on like what can potentially happen on the kids aren't going to be happy because they're going to be like, man, now my parents know I can't use this app anymore. Darn. But, just try to reiterate to them, like, I'm just trying to keep you safe. It's not you, you're not the bad person. The bad person is coming at you through this app. So just like you lock the door at night to keep someone from breaking in, I'm shutting that door so they don't come after you or they can't get to you.
And I just want to take the time to say, yes, we are going to be able to share this, and to extend a thank you from Miss Garrett, who still can't get unmuted to be able to voice herself. A huge thank you for taking your time this evening to.
I don't know if you can hear me now, but I did. So thank you.
So yeah, so again, we thank you for taking the time out to do this presentation for us, and we definitely will be able to share it, share the recording.
Oh, and one more thing that just to reiterate about the parents being able to shut down the account. As I said, like when you create an account, they mostly have like terms of service, like you must be this age or older to be able to use this account. If they are informed that an account like, hey, this kid is only 12 or 11, and it's one like Twitter or Instagram where it says you have to be 13, that's another reason why they would shut it down, because it's a violation of their terms. So when it comes, can a predator find out where your child lives through your server or VPN? So if you're using a VPN, it actually masks your IP address. So they cannot find you through a VPN. Actually, a lot of these people use VPN, so I can't find them. But they won't be, the only way I can track you through your IP address is by subpoenaing like your service provider. Like I would have to send a subpoena to Cox Communications saying, hey, tell me who's the subscriber for this IP address. And then they would tell me, because I have a court order, this is the name and the address and the phone number and the email of the person that pays for this account. There shouldn't be any way for a predator to be able to track you through that. But keep in mind that if your child has like their phone number attached to an account or gives the phone number, there's a lot of free websites out there like White Pages, Spokio. There's so many different websites where I can type a name or a phone number and it will either tell you the exact address or enough of the address that if I start Googling the name and the name of the street, that there's going to be at least one, if not more, sites that have the full name on there. That's why a lot of times they'll say, what's your mom's name? Because it's harder to track a 12-year-old because their internet presence is not as big, but it's a lot easier to track the parent because, I mean, we've been using the internet for usually, twice as long as the kids. So we leave a lot of footprints. Like even if you type my name into Spokio, I think I had it removed, but my address popped up. So. Oh yeah, same with same school, all that stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it. So goodbye.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.